Great, and we're live. Welcome everybody to this Hangout on Air. My name is Lisette and I'm interviewing people and companies doing great things remotely. And today on the line I have ShriKant Vashishtha. You're the Director of Engineering at GlobalLogic. And when I look at your profile, it says your specialties are technology, strategy, and implementation, distributed agile, which is what caught my attention, of course, and agile transformation. You've also
Sure.
sent me a list of your publications, and it's huge. You've done a lot of writing, so
Yeah.
really looking forward to talking with you. And
Sure.
it looks like you also do a lot of public speaking. So let's get started. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I have been into the IT industry for last 16 years. Initially, I started with the normal IT services company, uh, but at the same time, uh, it is one of the largest IT service company in India. Uh, the focus was working with many of biggest, largest IT companies like or Fortune 50 companies, and uh, uh, and the projects which were also quite huge. So I was talking about certain projects which were having around 120 people or more than that around, and many of them were distributed. So that was at the time I was working in the waterfall fashion, and at that time, while working there, I realized that there were a lot of problems which could be sorted out, but the way or methodology we were using was not suitable for that, and that was uh, that was the time I thought that let's see whether there are other ways of doing the same thing in a better way, and I moved to another company called Zabia. And at the time, I started learning about what agile software development is all about. But there, I got introduced to a lot of good things, especially about distributed agile. And the good thing was we started doing experimentation to make sure how we can improve the way we are working. So it at I'm talking about the time 2008 or before that, and at that time we started doing distributed pairing, remote pairing. At that time, that was quite new. Because considering the kind of internet bandwidth and the video communication, uh, that those kind of tools were not available that time. But at the same time, the, the the experiences we were having were really encouraging, and we start publishing certain stories of that. And at the same time, we basically started to see what are the other new things which are different while working in a distributed fashion, because there was a lot of literature on working with co-located agile, but people were still struggling how to do this distributed agile. So we were coming up with the new thoughts and ideas on that, and we started publishing some of the stuff at the time. Uh, uh, After doing working in those projects, I moved to agile coaching and worked with one of the largest uh, bank in Western Australia as an agile coach. And there I was part of the team which was responsible for the enterprise agile transformation. And basically there I learned certain things around scaled agile. So that was a very good experience. And then I came back to India and I started working with GlobalLogic. So it's a long introduction, but I hope it gave some certain insight what I went through in between.
No, it's always good to get the background of somebody's journey. So starting in Agile and then moving to distributed teams and then sort of experimenting with the different things. And I'm curious about your experiments. Are there any that you can share with us, things that you started with, maybe things that totally failed or things that worked, of course?
Uh, things I think what I felt is there are certain things which fail, and from the failures you learn a lot. So I feel I am fortunate that I worked with that project, which was completely failed from my point of view, but just because of that I learned a lot. So that was a project. That was the first project ever in working in Agile, and that was distributed Agile. And there were a lot of problems. Like we were basically pushed to Netherlands, and then we started. We had to be part of the new team. We were given only 2 days of knowledge transfer of a uh, big project, which was already working for last 1 year, and then we had to start working in that project when we come back to India. So so now again after coming back, the whole project got changed. Uh, so so the thing is that we were kind of people who were shooting the arrows in the dark because we were not having any idea like what is the foundation of that project is all about. So we were learning from the code. We started doing certain sessions on the distributed pairing as well, but at the time it didn't work that well as again, because the thing is that and I realized it a bit later why it didn't work is because that if you think about a big elephant and you you are just scratching his tail, for example, or you're scratching uh, his one of the foot, then you don't know what the elephant is all about. So unless you really know, understand what the elephant is all about, it gets very difficult uh, to see or make sure that you're doing the right things. So I felt that the pairing exercise works well only when you know what component you're working on. You have the understanding of the entirety of the holistic view uh, of the entire picture, and then then you're drilling down. So pairing really works when you are drilling down, but unless you know what the entire picture is all about, uh, it brings you it doesn't bring you a lot of good advantages. So that was one of the great learning at the time. We started experimenting with the distributed knowledge sharing as well. So basically what we did was uh, at the end of the each sprint, we used to have a session of 1 hour in which we used to explain what everybody's has done in terms of the coding, and it used to explain uh, on the computers, and that was very helpful. But basically, as I'm saying, these are the experiments in their own as individuals, which didn't work, but I think they are really helpful if you start using them in a new team, which is not struggling with what we were struggling with. So
Sure.
basically, it didn't help with that situation, but those were the things which are really useful if you start working in a distributed team anyway.
Sure,
So
but
so
not every team gets the chance to start fresh. I mean, it's probably more
yeah.
likely that you're going to get thrown in on a project like you guys did. You have 2 days for the knowledge sharing, and then you got to make it happen.
Yeah, but so basically, what I so far whatever I've been talking about is all about failures. So that's things which didn't work. But later I felt that it is very important to give a good amount of focus on the knowledge sharing as well, and that's what happened afterwards. That the person who was having a good amount of knowledge, he came to the India, he stayed with us for around 2 or 4 weeks, and then basically we really get to know what the elephant is all about. And then basically all the remote pairing and all the stuff we were doing started making sense to us. And uh, and then we were able to provide the productivity or the which the customer was looking for. But it all came only after learning with all those experiments why it is not working, what we can do in this kind of situation. And of course they didn't work, but at the same time they gave us a lot of new insights which we could implement in the new projects.
And do you think that you learned so much because that person came there in person and was there with you? Was that the right solution? Or was it just that you took the time to really get the holistic view of the product? It's probably a little bit of both, but
I think it's a both it's both things, because I feel the face-to-face interaction is really worthwhile. You get to know the person, you get to know, you it's more human. Uh, and uh, uh, you can you can basically explain on the whiteboard just right away and then see what's happening. You can take more time, whatever you want. So I feel that collocation is a very important part if you're working in a distributed fashion. For example, half team is part of India and half team is part of, for example, Netherlands. So having some kind of collocation is a good idea, because then the team gels with each other. And at the same time, there are certain things which cannot be exchanged just over the wire, and that helps in doing that. So I think that that's a mix of both in this particular case.
interesting. So, because we're saying we're going to solve the humanization problem of virtual teams by bringing people together face to face. So of course I'm having some reaction like, yes, I know face to face is the best, but there's so many situations where we can't see each other. We're just not, the whatever logistics, whatever the reason is that we're just not getting together. So it's an interesting solution. But
Yeah, yeah,
oh,
actually, I feel that uh, collocation is an important part of the whole thing. um, if you are making sure that there is a team which is working together, this is customer and vendor relationship. uh, it's not just a technicality, it's more about the human aspect. And they're getting to know with each other, and those things helps a lot in bringing the sense of the team.
so tell me about, I'd like to talk a little bit more about this humanizing the high tech aspect of it, because you just said, or what I heard you say was that there's enough tools. We have the tools. It's usually not the tools that are the problem on this distributed team. It's the humanizing connection aspect of it. So I guess it brings up a couple questions at once, which is one is, um, how have you gone to humanize your remote team a little bit? What are the kinds of things that you've done? And I'm curious about the pair programming. Can you describe to me what that looks like? Are you using video when you're pair programming? How are you doing that?
So there are two parts of the question. One is what is pair program? I mean, how do you do the pair programming? And another part is how do you take care of the humanization part? Is
Right.
that right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's two separate questions that I put into once because I got excited.
So, so I think as far as uh, as far as the humanization part is concerned, uh, we did a lot of things. So basically, what I've seen is that after, I mean, even if you do the collocation and there is a good amount of trust within the team, after a period of time, you lose the human connect. I'm talking about 2 or 3 months, for example. right now you can see me and you can we are interacting, we are going for the lunch, and I can feel you. But as you go to onshore, then after a period of 2 or 3 months, that whole thing, uh, whole vacuum is filled by other things in your life, and then the human connect is gone. Uh, so so basically, the problem with the remote communication is that uh, whatever you're talking is all about technicalities. So you come and you do the work, but the human connect is really gone. You don't really do that chit chat, which is really important to gel with each other. And that's why I generally say, even if you're doing the remote collaboration as well, it's really important to do the initial chit chat, uh, to see the what is going on in your life, to be on your comfort zone and all that. And because otherwise you are just machines which is focused to make sure that work is getting done. And then if that is the case, then because of the distributed nature of the communication, certain misunderstanding emerges, and then it becomes very difficult to fill that particular gap. So what we did was, apart from making sure that we do all these regular chit chat, what we also came up with the idea that apart from the actual Scrum Master at the on-site, we will be having a person called a local Scrum Master, uh, who is working for the remote team, who can make sure that whatever the problems are there at the local team, he can focus on them. So that is the first part. Second thing is, these two remote and local Scrum Master used to communicate with each other on a regular basis, not about the project, but how the whole collaboration is going on. And in case there are any problems, any of the concerns which any of the team is making, then how do we solve with each other? So that was a very, very important part. I mean, uh, before, some of the problems because of some human issue used to come, we as a scrum masters used to know early, and then used to say, think about like what can we do about solutioning about those things, and that particular aspect worked really well.
So
uh,
they're
so
acting
that
sort of
was.
like a team facilitator. I mean, that's sort of the Scrum Master role. So, but
Yes.
they're facilitating between
Actually,
team members.
yeah, actually the facilitation is one part, but at the same time there was another part of the other thing is that, apart from the distributed retrospective, we started doing the local retrospective. So what used to happen was, because there was a client and a vendor relationship, there were a lot of things, local things, which local team didn't want to raise in front of the customer. So
Hmm.
for example, there are people within the local infrastructure, so it is very difficult to say in front of the customer that there are problems in our infrastructure, or the the team spirit within the local team is not working. I mean, that is not that gives a kind of little bit negativity in front of the customer. So
Right.
again, but those issues were important, but people didn't raise them because of the obvious reasons. So what we thought is, these are important issues. What we can do about it, and then we started thinking about the idea of the local retrospective. So apart from the distributed retrospective, we start having a local retrospective. So before we go to the distributed retrospective, we did the local retrospective. Certain things which are local to the team, we used to resolve them ourselves, and certain things which are for the entire team, then we used to raise them in the distributed retrospective, and that really helped a lot, because otherwise, for example, we used to face issues like this. Uh, One person, the whole team is working well, But one person is, because he is very talkative, he talks a lot in the distributed retrospective. It looks like he is doing the whole work. So he used to take the credit, and other people used to cry. So what do we do about it?
Yeah, it's a real issue. I mean, I would think that this would come up a lot. I've been in plenty of meetings where one person just takes over. They're just the star. That's what they do. But it's a
Yeah.
problem. Yeah.
So this is a problem, but that kind of issues we could not raise in the distributed retrospective. So that's where we start having I mean, these kind of meetings where local issues could be raised, we could solve them ourselves, and that started helping a lot. So that was one part of uh, your question, which is focused about the humanizing things. Uh, but other part was about how do you do the distributed
Prepare
pair
for, but
programming.
before we move on to that, I want to ask one thing because I read in one of your blog posts that you've also created something called the Virtual One Room, and I thought that that
Yeah.
was a very interesting idea. So maybe you could tell us more about what that Virtual One Room is.
So basically, uh, distributed communication is all about a lot of confusions around, uh, and so confusion and misunderstanding within the people. So because of that, we used to face a lot of problems. Uh, can we pause it for some time?
Yes, sure, of course.
Yeah, just a moment. I just put my adapter. Sorry about that.
No problem. We'll edit it out in post-production.
Oh, then it's good actually. Give me 2 minutes. Sorry about that.
No problem. I'll just say for people watching, if you have any questions, you can tweet them to hashtag remote interview, and we'll get those answered now or in the future. And we'll soon end this commercial break.
Yeah, we are back. Sorry.
No problem. Power is important, right?
So can you repeat your question, please?
The question is, I wanted you to describe the virtual one room because it sounded like that was one of your ways of humanizing your office.
Yeah, actually, the problem was uh, uh, the problem was the communication through the distributed way is brings a lot of misunderstanding. And I will give you some examples. So you send a chat message and you immediately need that person. That person doesn't respond to you at all. And then you send another message. Then again there is no response. And then basically, and this happens quite often, and then you don't know what to do. It brings some kind of misunderstanding in your mind. Maybe that guy doesn't want to talk to me.
Right,
It's
because
pretty normal, basically.
I'm assuming their instant message status says that they're available. And so you
Yes.
instant message somebody, but they're actually
Yeah.
not responding. So you don't know, like, okay, they left their status as available, but maybe they went to the bathroom, maybe they went to the
Yeah.
store. You don't know.
Yeah. 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 So I'm just telling some of the reasons. I mean, so basically that used to create some of the misunderstandings, like uh, and the actual issues could be something else. So the actual issue is very simple, that I'm focused on what I'm trying to do, and so I'm keeping all my messages away, and I don't know whether those messages are even coming to me or not. So basically that person is not doing intentionally, but to other person it looks like something else, isn't it?
Oh,
So
sure. I'm
so
sure this happens all the time.
so that is one case. In another case, maybe as you mentioned, that the person has gone to the bathroom. He has gone to another seat, and he's just having a discussion kind of thing. Uh, so basically, uh, again, you don't know. So we try to create a kind of virtual one room where we could see and feel each other on distributed location. So what we did was we put a Skype camera for each of their teams, and that Skype camera was active all the time, so we could see who is coming, who is going. We used to greet each other whenever we used to come to as part of the team. We used to greet again when we used to go uh, to for to our home or having a lunch or those kind of. So basically, first of all, it created certain things, uh, certain good things in the team, that we were able to see each other at the same time. Certain common gestures or things started happening in the team. But at the same time, we could also see, like, for example, this guy is sitting just to another seat. He's having chit chat and he's not available right now. Or so basically, it really helped. It gave a one team feeling, and at the same time, with those misunderstandings also started going away, uh, and it really helped in that sense.
Yeah, when I saw the picture of it on the blog, I thought, now this is a great idea. You basically have two co-located teams working in different places, seeing each other on video.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
brilliant solution, actually. It seems like a really simple to set up when we have Skype or Hangouts or other video conferencing tools. There's tons. And then you're humanizing. The video really helps humanize the office.
Yes. Yes, and I truly believe that uh, apart from putting a lot of focus on the tools and practices in the distributed uh, or remote way of working, the humanizing is aspect is very, very important, but most of the times it goes missing. Not many people really focus on that. But I mean, from my experience, I have seen that this is one of the most important part which needs to be focused when we are talking about remote collaboration.
Do you do any things for your team? This question comes to mind because I get this image of you guys being thrown together with this team in the Netherlands. You have 2 days to do knowledge sharing, and yet you're supposed to work together in an effective way. And one thing that I've been hearing a lot about is teams who come together and do some sort of virtual team tuning before they start working together on a project. You know, where you write down, you outline, here's how we're going to communicate. This is what our core hours are going to be. We're going to speak in this time zone language all the time. You know, everything is going to be IST or so. Were there things that you did like that? Do you set up team agreements like that with each other?
Yeah, basically we used to call them team norms,
Team norms.
and team norms.
Oh, okay, yes, team norms.
Yeah, so and irrespective of whether it's a distributed team or a local team, we used to do them anyway. So team norms help a lot to define certain group decisions, how we are going to work together, and they, because they come from the team based on their experiences. For example, what I say to the like what we say to the team is, let's come together and think about, we are going to work in the best project of the world. What are the things you would like to have in that project team, and what are the things which you don't want to have in that team. Based on that, you come up with a team norms, and that is the group decisions. And certain things which people really don't like, those things come up front, and those things are discussed. Otherwise, you find them afterwards. uh, those are troubles and you are dealing with them. So I find that it is very important to have team norms, to make sure that teams start gelling with each other, certain team agreements which help team to work together. So it doesn't really matter whether it's a distributed team or remote or co-located team. Team norms really work with each team.
And how do you guys document it? Do you use a wiki or a document, or is there a fancy programming tool you guys all have?
Yeah, actually, uh, whenever we are working with in a distributed manner, then basically, uh, uh, whatever things are there, they are shared. So we have shared wikis, shared code base, video communication. So basically, all these things are documented in the wiki, for example.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious. I know for some people wikis are a bit unusual. They're a bit high tech for some of the listeners. So some people just use Word documents or, Google Drive or something. Whatever works for the team, I'm assuming, is what you
Yeah,
share.
actually, the whole point is that it is shared, it is available at any point of time. It is not hidden behind the fridge. So I call them all these things like uh, version control system as a fridge. So you need to open the fridge door and then see what is there inside. Other thing is which is visible all the time to you. So I prefer those things which are visible to you all the time. So instead of keeping a document in a version control system, it should be something which is live, which can be changed at any point of time, which is available at any point of time. It is just there in front of you. That's where things work in distributed team.
And what do you personally like about working on a distributed team?
Uh, Actually, there are two things. So one is, uh, I mean, if you think about the Agile manifesto earlier, the idea was that the people used to hate changes, and then they start embracing changes.
Hmm.
Fine. Similarly, uh, these earlier people used to hate distributed teams because a lot of problems and communication, this and that. But these days, distributed teams are the norms. These are normal. I mean, this is the reality of the whole world right now. That the world is becoming a small village. All the problems which you're having earlier, because of the communication gap and all these things, they are subsiding because of a lot of technology tools and other things. And now I feel that distributed teams should be the norms, and we need to embrace the distributed teams. So I feel that that is the kind of changed atmosphere or the environment now compared to some years ago. Now nobody really feels a pain like why we are having distributed team. Only thing is that we are still evolving the ways to work in a better way. Uh, and basically, I mean, lot of I feel that as far as distributed team is concerned, uh, first of all, they need to have some co-located hours. So if it really doesn't work that you are having two separate teams working in the United States and in India. They have 12 hours of difference, but they are working on the same code base. It is very difficult because then you don't have any co-located hours where you can communicate with each other. I mean, otherwise you will be talking in the night and or early mornings and that kind of stuff. So my first preference is that if you are distributed in this fashion, then you should be having two separate teams. One is working in the United States, one is working in India, and they are self-sufficient team doing end-to-end things. And then basically the team leads or the scrum master join each other and basically discuss about the things which where they have the dependencies, and that's how things work better. I have seen a lot of issues when uh, both teams are working together on the same thing. Then basically they really work in the night, uh, late nights, early mornings, and that doesn't really work well with their social lives.
Right,
Uh,
somebody's going to suffer. Somebody's staying up too late, or somebody's waking up too early. Somebody's suffering, and
yeah,
it's not what they want to be doing. I'm sure at 6 in the morning or something.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So basically, that was happening in one of the team I was coaching with, and the first thing I thought, why? First of all, is it really necessary to do the distributed nature of work in this team? And then they find no, we can work as a self-sufficient team as well. So that was the immediate solution. Why don't we work as a self-sufficient teams? Distributed nature comes with its uh, uh, it's some of the problems, and you can you can still have those problems when you're having much more advantages because of the distributed nature. So, but in this case, it's very simple. Like if you're self-sufficient teams and you can work on your own, why to have the distributed nature? It's a waste. You just remove the waste. Uh, Distributed way of working works a little bit better when you are having co-located hours. You can communicate with each other, you can share, you can do the pair programming and stuff like that. There I have seen there are much better results.
So basically, splitting the team into sort of the time zone areas, and then having the scrum master meld them together when needed, and having some co-located hours whenever possible.
Yeah, basically instead of all the team members coming on the distributed scrum in the night at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock and doing the scrum, it is much better if they are already working in a self-sufficient team, and when there is some kind of dependencies, then those scrum master talk to each other, and if required some of the team members also talk to each other and collaborate, but not the entire team.
Right, right. Okay, that's interesting. Interesting solution wherever that's possible. But
Yeah,
one thing that this brings up for me though is culture, and it's a sort of a rare opportunity to talk about culture in this case because I mean culture is different everywhere, but the further away you get in time zones, the further apart the cultures can be. So have you
yeah.
had any cultural issues on the team? Have there been any culture things that have come up for you guys? I mean, because it sounds like you're working with people in the U.S. and in the Netherlands and of course in India.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, cultural differences are there to begin with, and so for example, people from the Dutch side can be very straightforward, uh,
Very,
in
very
may
blunt, yes.
very blunt, fine, which you may not like as a Indian person. Uh, the Indian people are, I mean, if you talk about from the cultural perspective, I feel that the Indians are come from the hierarchical culture, and they still focus on the family structure, joint family structure. So there is a lot of bonding. So having a team is very easy when I think about Indians, uh, because there is not much individualism. There is a lot more groupism. Fine. So it's easy to have a set of people make a team, and they really gel with each other. So that is pretty normal. But at the same time, because of the hierarchical culture, there are problems as well. I mean, many times it happens that people don't have the that kind of uh, understanding of the training sometimes, where uh, they can talk to anybody in the world. So basically, it happens many times that only the team lead is talking to the representative on the customer side and that kind of stuff. So that comes from the hierarchical cultural background. But these days, again, that is changing pretty rapidly in India as well. And I mean, the new generation is very straightforward as well, because of the whole set of changes which are happening around the globe. So, but the same. But while when I talk about distributed collaboration, then the cultural aspect also creates some of the issues. And that's where as I said, that having a person at the on-site and at the and the local team, and basically they communicate and facilitate the team, is a very good idea, because certain cultural aspect both of these people may not understand in isolation. Fine. So when they communicate, then they understand, oh, this was because of that reason, and I will handle this situation. You don't have to worry about it. So in that sense, I've seen that particular model really works well.
So basically, leaving it up to the local scrum master to help facilitate those cultural things that come up, just like any other issue, amongst the
Yeah.
team, and basically just talking
Yes.
about it. And I'm assuming that working in the agile way, that you have plenty of opportunities for retrospectives and feedback, so that things don't go too long without coming up as an issue.
Uh, Depends. Sometimes it depends on the kind of comfort these two teams are having. Uh, and even certain individual may feel, but they don't, like, it may be part of the culture that uh, you are not putting the issues for at the forefront. Fine. And you still keep on taking it until it is really out of your control. So
Yeah, I have experience in this too. Yeah, well, sometimes there's so much feedback, or there's such little things. You think of them as little things, so
yeah,
you don't want to be nagging and giving feedback all the time.
yeah,
On the other hand, these little
yeah,
things add up over time, and after a
yes,
while, you're right, it goes to a point where it's no longer in your control. You're totally irritated, and something weird happens.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so that's what I was talking about. So uh, some people try to avoid certain things to put into the retrospective, which becomes very related to a certain team or certain team members. So I'm facing this problem. It becomes really evident, and this problem is because of that team or team member. So generally, people try to avoid that kind of situation. But as I said, like, when you have a certain facilitator who understand the setting of each team, then handling those kind of situation becomes much more easier, because then you can also say that based on understanding your understanding. Because I'm not saying that you don't have to put those things in the retrospective. Only thing is that they are tricky situations, and not all tricky situation can be handled in the retrospective.
Right. Some things are very delicate or very personal in nature, or
Yeah,
just weird things come up. Everybody's been on a team where something weird has happened. I can imagine everybody's happened. So
yeah.
I like
So
this idea of having a local facilitator, somebody that is outside the conversation that helps to to heal wounds, maybe somebody who can at least provide a framework for the conversation to happen. I really like this idea.
yeah, because otherwise, if you think about the whole idea of Scrum or Agile, we talk in terms of the ceremonies. We have the planning meeting, we have the retrospective, and we have this and that, and whole team really works in that fashion. So this becomes really mechanical, in my personal opinion. You need to have certain space where it's normal, it's very informal. We are talking about a team, we are talking about how things are working. How are you? You're fine. And these kind of things. And these ceremonies don't have space for them. So that's where this humanizing aspect is very important, where those two people are working, talking to each other, and making sure that things are working fine on each side.
Right. Funny that it's really the human aspect that we struggle with on the remote working now, that the tools, well, there's an app for that somewhere. So with the tools, there's always a solution, it seems. I mean, it's maybe annoying to find a new tool and it's hard to learn and get them implemented, but there is a technical solution for most issues now. And now we're really dealing with how do we bring the human back? So I think it's an interesting development in the whole aspect.
Yeah, and you cannot avoid the human aspect anymore.
Right, we're not robots, which is the best part. We're humans, and it has to be addressed.
Yeah, so
Indeed.
but
So there's
many times it happens that that is not that is not the thing which we really discuss. We discuss about the aspects of uh, teams and team members and ceremonies and tools and all that. But many times I've seen that this aspect gets missing. So basically, for example, like I did a session for one team, which was just focused about how to be a fun team,
wow, I like
how
that.
to be yeah, how to be fun team. So basically, it was not about like things like how to do the pair programming and stuff like that, but more about how to respect each other, how a person feels when you criticize him all the time, and then you are putting his back on the wall, and how, how to deal with those kind of situation. How can you show those situation in front of the team and make sure that people know that these are the situation they need to handle each other, because I think we need to understand it very clearly now that uh, when we are working in the agile teams, we are talking about the collaborations. Fine, we are talking about a lot of collaboration and human connection. Human, not everybody is very good in dealing with the humans. Fine, and that's where you need some kind of training. You need to have some kind of understanding how human think and behave. So apart from the technical aspect of all these things, I feel there needs to be a bit more focus on the human aspect of the collaboration.
And training people on how to interact with each other.
Yeah,
It sounds like
yeah,
that's where the team norms could really come in handy. Is you've got the sort of
yes,
basic
yes.
kind of
But I'm talking about a situation where there were no team ROMs. This was already working team. They never discuss about how they are going to work with each other, and it was an out of control situation. then you need to have some kind of tools, firefighting tools, to see what you can do in this kind of situation. So, so I'm talking about that kind of aspect.
Yeah, I think it's been really interesting hearing your stories and some of the things that you've struggled with, because I think that almost every team is going to be able to relate to this. So it's very curious. Is there anything, I know we're nearing the end of the time here, so I want to give, is there anything that I didn't ask about that you would like to tell? I have a whole list of things that I didn't get to, but we can maybe do a follow-up interview, or I'll ask you some follow-up questions via email. But is there anything that I didn't ask?
Uh, I think most of the things have already been discussed, and only thing is I may want to talk about a little bit on the distributed pair programming,
Oh, yeah.
how it was for us. So we started experimenting with it in 2008, and initially it was with our customer who was uh, who was based in Netherlands. But at the same time, after a certain time, we started doing it ourselves.
Hmm.
Ourselves means that uh, I'm working from home, and so let's do this distributed pair programming. So we started doing in that fashion. Then we started doing the distributed stand up also with that person in I mean that way. So he was working with the home, but at the same time he's still really available for all those things. So those things became very evident to us. One thing I found with the distributed pair programming is that you find at you find much more at ease when you're working in the remote fashion, because then you can see your own screen. You are not looking like this on other screen, and you are much more on the comfort, uh, and because your headset, so you're listening, you are really listening what the other person is trying to say. Just remote pairing will not work if you don't communicate, so you have to communicate. So the basic things which we talk about the normal pair programming practice, and sometimes we don't do, they you have to really do it as part of the remote pairing. So you need to speak, you need to show what you're trying to do, and there is a lot more communication, a lot more collaboration, and the pairing is much more focused. So initially, I was having a lot of apprehensions how this whole thing is going to work. But after a period of time, I found that uh, doing remote pairing is much easier, much more comfortable, and gives a lot more output.
Yeah, I can imagine that actually being side by side physically with somebody day in and day out could be very uncomfortable in a number of ways. So maybe it's just you're not in your home setting, or there's a million reasons why it could be uncomfortable. But actually pairing online could be very comfortable because you're in your own
Yeah.
setting. I have my favorite mug, and the temperature is exactly the way that I like it, and yeah, it's less intense while still
Yeah.
being very connective.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard a
So
lot of, when I talk to programmers, I've heard a lot of people talking about pair programming, but I think it can also work in various other aspects. For instance, I work with a woman in California, and she and I work on Skype every evening for a couple of hours together, working on our own stuff. We have the video off, and we just talk as if we're in the same room together. But
yeah, yeah. So for example, I sometimes do a pair blogging also with my friend. uh,
hmm,
and it's not nothing about programming, but it's more about exchanging ideas. How you have some idea about the blog, but let's talk about it. Let's structure it. Let's hear your feedback. You're thinking that I might want to do this particular as heading, and what do you think about it? It didn't look so nice. Maybe we can change in this way or that way. So a lot of uh, exchange of the ideas really happen. And sometimes I've seen that with that exchange of ideas, the blog which you could finish in 1 or 2 days because you need a lot of thoughts is finished within half an hour. So it's much more productive session in that way.
Right, you're getting feedback like, hey, what do you think of this title? Or, I'm not sure about the graphic. Could you take a quick look? And
Yeah, or even the whole idea itself. You see that I want to write about this topic, and I say based on my inputs like this idea is it will not work at all. Why do you think it is a good idea? And then I give a lot of reasons, and then he says, yeah, you're saying right. So those things which you find later based on the feedback of the others, you can get to know about them immediately, and can work on the refined way of your language and the structure of your blog.
right. So the advice then is pair up with somebody while you're working remotely. Even if you're not working on the same projects, just pair up and work together.
Yeah, if you want to collab, I mean, if you are collaborating, I would say you should pair up. I mean, working in isolation really doesn't work. It's not so much productive as pairing is.
Right. There's certain tasks I can imagine, like if you're deep in the code, you really want to be deep in the code. You want no interruptions. But then for other things, when you're not deep in the code, you want open collaboration, idea generation, and brainstorming.
Yes, I think, I mean, one of the things which people say about agile way of working is evolution of the design.
Mm.
Because we don't have design phase already. I mean, which we used to have for one month or two, and then we start the coding. Now it's all part of the whole sprint. Now, where does the evolution of design come into picture? If you are working on your own, in a solitude. So that evolution of design come into picture when you exchange your ideas, when this guy says that this is what we need to implement, and then he says that there is a better idea in doing the same thing. What about this? What about that? That's where the evolution of design come into picture. So pairing is really essential for the evolution of design, in agile, from the agile perspective as well.
I really like that phrase. Pairing is essential for the evolution of design. Brilliant. That'll
Yeah,
get used in your interview for sure. Because I agree with you. I think that there's a time for working in isolation, and there's really a time where you need to ping ideas and get things from totally different people. And in a remote setting, that's difficult to do, but it's necessary for the evolution of ideas. We have to
sure.
mix and generate new things. So you're right. I really like that the focus is on this, and I think that we'll need to find another name besides pair programming. Maybe it's just pairing. You're pairing with people,
Yes,
or
I started saying it now, pairing. That's it. I don't say it as a pair programming anymore because it's pairing. Anybody can do the pairing. And one of the things, as part of the pairing, what I've seen is, like, in the agile teams is I don't see the islands of the knowledge anymore, which was very common sighting earlier. So certain particular person can only change this particular piece of code. If somebody else will change, then something will happen, and we don't know what will happen. So that used to kind of common sight earlier. Now, because everybody is doing the pairing with each other, then everybody knows what is going inside the code. And then I have seen, it is pretty normal in the teams where the pairing really happens. Anybody can touch any piece of code at any point of time. So for example, you and me are pairing, and you go and, I mean, you have some problems, and you go for some leave immediately. Then it doesn't mean that your work is stuck. Another person comes and you start working on your work. It's pretty normal in this kind of setup. Earlier, it used to happen that this person will come and then she will start working on this piece of code. So that is no more the case.
Right? And when they leave, it's gone. Sometimes
Yeah.
the work, the knowledge, the information is just gone, which is crazy.
Yes. Yes, and that also happens that because everything was in his or her head. So, so
Right.
now she's gone, so the whole knowledge is also gone. So that kind of thing also, I mean, people generally say that pairing is, pairing maybe two people working on the same code, but it is not just two pairs of typing. It is much more than that. It's knowledge sharing. Uh, it is collaboration. It is evolution of design. So many other things come into picture, which people generally don't think. So that's where I feel that pairing is much more than just pair of typing.
I agree. I think that it seems to be one of the essential things for humanizing the office also and making things really work on remote distributed teams.
Yep.
So one final question for you, which is if people want to learn more about you, if they want to read your extensive blog, I mean, if you're in Agile and you are doing any sort of remote work, or even if you're just in Agile doing Agile transformation, you've got to read this blog. So where can people find you online? How do they connect?
Uh, I think they can connect me on agilebuddha.com, and they can connect me on the Twitter as well. So these are the two things where I am available at any point of time.
Great, and
And definitely it is also easier to connect on the LinkedIn as well.
okay, so LinkedIn, Twitter, and the blog, and I'll go ahead and I'll put your contact information in the liner notes so that people have it at their
Sure.
fingertips.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much. I feel like I learned a lot today, and there's some really great nuggets of information that I look forward to writing up and expanding on. So thanks very much for this.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. It was a very good setting, and again talking in the remote setting. It was pretty good interview, I think.
Great, thanks. All right, everybody. Until next time, be powerful.
Be powerful.